Factor 3. I will say with the driver qualification files, they are going to look at everything. Everything on the driver qualification files, they're going to make sure that they match. With the factors, whenever I'm going through these audit factors, keep in mind your CSA score is their baseline for everything. Everything that is on that CSA score is, I'll give you a little tip here. If you have drivers that have been inspected and they're on your SMS report, those are the drivers that they will ask for first. Plain and simple. Every driver that's been inspected in the last 12 months, they will ask for those drivers first. Always. Same with hours of service. They will always ask for those drivers. Same with vehicle maintenance. They'll look at the vehicles that have been inspected because that's their baseline. They can prove right then and there that you were on the road, that driver was on the road, in that truck, in that trailer, on that specific day, on that specific time. They're going to look to see, was that driver, did he operate before he had a negative drug test result, things like that. Their SMS is their baseline. So if anybody wants to know which drivers are they going to pull, look at your SMS report because that's going to tell you. So let's move on to hours of service, Factor 3. So with Factor 3, whether you have ELDs, logbooks, they're going to check for violations on logbooks, ELDs, timesheets, doesn't meet the required exemptions, systems to ensure compliance with hours of service rules. So they're going to ask you, how are you doing this? How are you monitoring this? How are you doing training for your drivers whenever they screw up? Because everybody screws up. They know that. They don't expect you to hold your driver's hand 24 hours a day and ride with them all the time. So they know if drivers make mistakes, what they want to see is, are you making those corrections when they do make a mistake? Supporting documents to cross-reference. So yes, they can ask for as many documents as they want. I will say the max typically is 8. If you look at their standard operating procedures for investigators, for special agents, they have a maximum of 8 that they actually can ask you for. But I don't want to say that because I told a client that one time and then he kind of mixed it around in his head and he thought, well, I told him typically they ask for, 2 or 3 different supporting documents. He thought that meant that that's all they could ask for. That's not true. And I tried to explain that to him, but he kind of wasn't getting it through his head. So they can ask for as many documents, supporting documents as they want whenever they're looking at your hours of service or anything else for that matter. Typically, and I say that, typically 2 or 3 supporting documents is sufficient for them. So if they're pulling logbooks or say ELDs or timesheets, any one of the 3, they might ask for payroll records. They might ask for timesheets if you're using ELDs and you also have timesheets. They might ask for fuel receipts, motel receipts, whatever, gas cards, especially if you have gas cards and you have a printout, but especially GPS records. So if you don't have ELDs and you have timesheets, if you're using timesheets versus ELDs or logbooks, but you do have GPS systems in there, they will look at your GPS records and they're very thorough whenever they look at those. So they look at your GPS records to make sure that what they're saying on their timesheets match. They are allowed to do that. They will do that absolutely every single time. And if they ask you for it, you have to give it to them. I don't know how many times I've gone into a company and I've explained that to them and I've said, they have every right to ask for this stuff. And instead of saying, no, I don't want to give it to them, yada, 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 just give it to them. It is what it is. You can't fix it. You can't change it. They're going to catch you either way. Either you're going to get fined for not giving it to them or you're going to get fined for the violations. But I've had clients that say, well, I don't want to give it to them. I've had clients that they didn't even do anything wrong and say, but I don't think I should have to give it to them. So they don't, and they get in trouble for it. So, just if you're not doing anything wrong, if your driver's not doing anything wrong, if everything's matching, why wouldn't you want to show them? I never got that. So, but I get it. People have different reasons why they do things. So I'm not there to judge. I'm just there to advise and tell my clients what the outcome will be if they don't comply with the regulations. So, but they will check all those different supporting documents. They're going to check for falsifications. They're going to check to make sure if you are using the short haul exemptions that you qualify, because a lot of companies think that they qualify for short haul exemption because they fit in that 100-mile radius. Well, there's other variables that go to that. That's a whole other session, but there's other variables that go with that and then they don't end up qualifying, then they get frustrated. So, but the investigators are there to verify all that information. And then if you're getting in a compliance review, you're going to get fined almost every single hours of service violations. I don't want to say every single one, but almost every single one is either an acute or critical violation, which means you're going to get big fat fines for it. So hours of service is a big deal. The next thing that they look at is in factor 4, they're going to look at your vehicle maintenance. So they're going to look at your roster, your vehicle roster, same thing as your driver roster. They want to know all the vehicles and the trailers that have been operating in the last 12 months. So on those rosters, whether it be computer generated like DOT Ready or whether it be, on a spreadsheet, and I've seen them both ways and they're perfectly both fine. There's nothing wrong with either one, as long as you have that required data. So on the vehicle roster, it should include the vehicle unit number, the year, make, model, tire size. Everybody forgets the tire size. Everybody gets nailed on the tire size. Why they have to have the tire size. That's just what the rule is. So having the accurate tire size on that roster is going to go a long way to helping you not get into any drama. I've honestly never seen any big fines associated. Honestly, I've never seen any fines associated to it, but it is a violation. You have to have that tire size on there. So a lot of companies and a lot of investigators, I've actually seen a lot of investigators actually think this, that it has to be on the folder. So let me just say, for one, it doesn't have to be on the folder. It has to be in the folder. So on the folder with a label or whatever, that's not true. It's just not true. It doesn't have to be on the outside of the folder. It does have to be in the folder though. So if you have any document with year, make, model, unit number, tire size in the folder, then that's sufficient. Just FYI to anybody who questions that, it doesn't have to be on the outside. But most of the time, if you have a roster and it has all of that information, the only thing that technically has to be on that folder is the unit number that can correlate that particular folder with that particular unit number on the roster. So if you have unit number 42 on the roster with all that information, and then you have a folder and all that folder says is unit 42, that's sufficient because you can match that to that. It's kind of common sense there, and a lot of people go overboard. Especially, I see a lot of competitors' files that it's just a jumbling mess on the outside of the folder because they want all this printed stuff on the outside. And to me, it doesn't look clean, for one thing. But another thing is you can't reuse those folders. Well, they designed them that way, so you would have to buy more folders. Never really, I get why they're doing it. I get why the company who sells them is doing it because they make more money. But I don't get why carriers don't understand, but now you do. In the past, they had to have those kind of folders and print all over them. I'm a cheapskate. I like to reuse things. So I prefer to just reuse my folders and put a new label on it whenever that vehicle is gone. So anyway, your roster with electronics, I'm going to go to that later. But so you have to have your roster. They are going to check for your system to ensure expiring federal vehicle maintenance issues. So they're going to look for what your system is to ensure that your annual inspections are done. When those expiration dates happen, whenever any expiration dates happen for your PM schedules, how are you tracking that? Whether you're doing it digitally or whether you're doing it on a spreadsheet or whether you have a whiteboard with sticky notes all over it. They just want to understand what your system, what your operating procedure is. So they're going to look at your annual inspections, your roadside inspections. You do have to have a separate folder for roadside inspections. So all the tickets that you've gotten over the last 12 months, have those in a folder because that's what they want to see. They want to see a folder with all those paper tickets inside of them, or a digital platform like DOT Ready where you actually have those, copies, digital copies of those available. Preventive maintenance and post-trip inspections. One thing I will say though, so a lot of people think that they have to have every single work order for a vehicle in the file for everything, and then the file ends up this thick. The DOT doesn't want to see that. What they want to see, and the only things that are required to be in your vehicle files, is your annual inspection, your vehicle maintenance log, your vehicle maintenance schedule, and the DVIRs. Those are the only things that are required to be in your vehicle files. All the work orders, they only want to see a summary. Do you have to keep the work orders? Absolutely you do. Do you have to keep all the receipts? Yes, you do. But they don't want to see that. What they want to see is that summary. That maintenance log is a summary of all the maintenance that's been done. What they do is they take your SMS report, they correlate it to your maintenance log. So they say, okay, on April 15th, you got stopped and you got a violation for lights. You know, your light's not working. What they want to see is sometime either on April 15th or shortly after, you did something on that particular vehicle that fixed the lights. That's what they do. They look at your SMS report, they say, did you get this violation? And then did you fix it? They don't want to see 50,000 work orders in there. It just makes their job harder. It's going to make them sit there for longer. We don't want them in your office any more than they want to be in your office. So let them do their job, let them do it quickly, be efficient about it. They just want to see that summary. If they think that you maybe just added it there, they can ask for supporting documents. So they might say, okay, yeah, you got the violation on April 15th. Yeah, I see you put it on your log on April 16th that you fixed it. Let's see, do you have a receipt or some kind of work order proving that? Then yeah, you can pull it out and show them. But most of the time they don't want to see all that drama. They just want to see the maintenance log, maintenance summary, annual inspections, to make sure that you're doing things.